this is the open school bill that passed out of the Senate earlier this year. And the new language that you see is a substitute that I offered in the House, and a substitute that I believe very much defines what we were all talking about when we were talking about opening schools. So some of the specifics of this legislation are that, number one, it says what in-person education is. And that means that the teacher and the children are in the classroom actually teaching and interacting. It says what in-person instruction is not, which is children in the classroom and with their laptops open, learning virtually with the proctor or somebody else. It goes on to state that the school board will open schools, it will open schools within the language of the Code of Virginia that is essentially full-time or 5 days a week, and that the mitigation strategies laid out by the CDC will be adhered to the maximum extent practicable, but that those mitigation strategies do not prevent the schools from opening. This bill goes on to make sure that our teachers are protected by ensuring they have the opportunity to get the vaccination, that they have the ability to teach from home if they have a medical reason or exception. It allows families to opt out of in-person education and choose virtual education. But it likewise gives guidelines that will be developed by the Department of Education to ensure that those children that choose virtual are actually succeeding, which was an insight we gleaned from our superintendents across the state of Virginia, and bring those children back into in-person or somehow help support them in the home so that they actually do succeed. This bill has a sunset clause of next year. It would go into effect July 1. And Mr. President and members of the body, that is the only flaw with this bill. And our children needed to be in school last fall. We have spent an enormous amount of time discussing the science and the evidence that supports that. And I won't trespass on your time by reiterating that after we had a robust conversation before. But this bill got out of the House with, I believe, 87 votes. It got out of this House with 28 votes. I am hoping and believe it is in the best interest of Virginia that the governor put an emergency clause on this bill and that this would be adopted as the language which he alluded to when he said schools needed to be open on March 15th, because this is what open schools look like. And this is the kind of structure for open schools that ensure we can begin to evaluate our children for the learning loss and the social emotional risk that they've had, the liabilities, all of the detrimental issues that school is the filter for. So I hope, Mr. President, this body will see fit to have more than 28 support this bill today. And I hope that with that vote, the governor will move ahead and send this back to us with an emergency clause. Thank you, Mr. President. Again, I move that we concur with the House substitute.